Good morning, welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Friday, February 5th, 2010. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. It's 4:30 p.m. in London. In Bermuda, it's 12:30 p.m. In Mexico City, it's 10:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. American baseball legend Hank Aaron is 76 years old today. There is a major winter storm bearing down on the mid-Atlantic United States. Washington, D.C., it's snowing there now. They're expecting 2 feet of snow before the snow ends sometime tomorrow. Amtrak, the American national passenger carrier, has canceled all trains from Washington, D.C. south. Many airlines have canceled today's flights and tomorrow morning's flights in airports in Washington, Baltimore, and Philadelphia. The snow here, approximately 40 miles northeast of Philadelphia, is expected to begin sometime this afternoon and continue until tomorrow morning. It's not expected to hit New York City too terribly much. Now to our main news. The main news is coming from New York. New York Attorney General Andrew Cuomo yesterday filed fraud charges against Bank of America and 2 of its former top executives. Cuomo says that they lied not only to investors but also to government officials who were orchestrating the massive bailout of the Bank of America in the final months of '08. BOA and Ken Lewis, the former CEO, and Joe Price, the former CFO, were indicted, accused of misleading federal officials about the size of losses at Merrill Lynch, which the Bank of America was in the process of buying. The lawsuit alleges that the deception was part of a successful effort to trick the officials into providing additional infusion of bailout money. The New York Attorney General also charged that the bank and the former executives were lying to investors about mounting losses at Merrill and concealing billions of dollars in bonuses paid to employees. The bank and the executives denied the charges. Separately, the Bank of America agreed to pay $150 million to settle 2 earlier suits brought by the SEC, charging that the company lied to shareholders. The SEC action was less aggressive than Cuomo's. It did not include fraud charges and cleared individuals of wrongdoing. The Attorney General's suit raises the prospect that senior federal officials, both former and current, could be called to provide courtroom testimony for the first time about their role in rescuing the financial system. The lawsuit names former Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson, Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke, and other federal officials as participants in the discussion about the merger between the BOA and Merrill. Those officials have said they did nothing wrong. Andrew Cuomo is running for governor of New York in all probability this November. Omaha-based Berkshire Hathaway has lost its last remaining AAA credit rating. Yesterday afternoon, Standard & Poor's lowered the group's rating a notch to only AA, which most people would die for. Moody's and Fitch stripped Berkshire of the top credit rating toward the end of last year. S&P said that Berkshire's $26 billion acquisition of the 77% of Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad that it didn't already own, quote, will reduce what historically has been extremely strong capital adequacy and liquidity. S&P cut the rating the same day that Berkshire filed plans to issue $8 billion in senior notes to help finance the railroad deal. Berkshire said that it would close the purchase on February 12th if the railroad shareholders approved the deal in a scheduled vote the day before. You can be sure that Mr. Buffett was well aware to the last decimal point exactly how much losing that last A is going to cost him on interest that he's going to have to pay to sell those $8 billion in notes. Yesterday afternoon, no one really noticed this. We did accidentally. There was a 6.0 earthquake off Northern California. It's about 35 miles west-northwest of Petrolia. You see it's pretty southwest of Eureka here. It struck at a depth of 7 miles. It occurred at about 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time. It didn't do any damage. There were no injuries reported. A little bit of shaking was felt up there in that northern part of the state, but that is pretty much the start point for the San Andreas Fault when it comes close to the North American continent. The government released information today about the nation's unemployment situation. The unemployment rate fell in January from 10% down to 9.7%. Non-farm payroll has contracted by 20,000. Economists had been expecting a gain of 25,000, and for the rate to remain steady at 10%. This is a little counterintuitive. The rate dropped because a survey of households found the number of employed Americans rose by 541,000. The job losses are calculated, however, from a separate survey of employers. The Aon Corporation, the world's largest insurance broker, is in the news. They've authorized the repurchase of $2 billion in shares. They swung to a profit in the fourth quarter last year. Net income of $198 million, or 69 cents a share, compares with the loss of $6 million, or 2 cents a share, in the same period a year earlier. The $2 billion that they're going to use to buy the shares will buy over 51 million shares based on yesterday's closing price. That'd be about 18% of the shares outstanding in the fourth quarter. Aon CEO Greg Case is adding to sales with the purchase of Carpenter Moore Insurance Services, announced just last October, and his big acquisition of $1.4 billion of reinsurance broker Benfield Group in 2008. Brokerage revenue at Aon advanced 8% in the fourth quarter, up to $1.7 billion. However, so-called organic revenue, which excludes gains from acquisitions and currency fluctuations, actually dipped 1%. Stock market in the U.S. is down about 38 points after a terrible day yesterday. Vast concerns about the sovereign debt ratings of Greece, Spain, and Portugal. We'll go to a word from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news. A few hours ago in Nagoya, Japan, the president of Toyota apologized for the massive global recalls over sticking gas pedals. Akio Toyoda, pictured here, he's Toyota's CEO, said the car maker is still deciding what steps to take to fix the brake problem on the Prius gas-electric hybrid, as well as the other problem with the accelerator. Speaking at a hastily arranged news conference, a stern-looking Mr. Toyoda promised to beef up quality control. He said that Toyota is setting up a special committee that he would head himself to check quality. It would review internal checks, go over consumer complaints, and listen to outside experts to come up with a solution to the widening quality problems. Quote, "I offer my apologies for the worries," he said in Japanese. "Many customers are wondering whether their cars are okay." Mr. Toyoda said that the company was moving quickly on the global recalls, covering 4.5 million vehicles for sticking gas pedals. About half of them are in the United States. Dealers are scrambling to make repairs on the gas pedals that need a new part to prevent sticking. Quote, "Please believe me," he said, we always put customers first," when he was asked by a reporter to speak in English. He said a decision on what to do about the Prius will be reached as soon as possible. The automaker said this week a recall was being considered. Mr. Toyoda is the grandson of Toyota's founder. He took